Hello everyone, my name is Gabe Foley and I'm here today to explain to everyone why the 12 valve Cummins is an unkillable engine and best on the market. So for those who don't know what a diesel engine is or an engine at all and how they work, I'm going to briefly explain to everyone how they work so you guys know what I'm talking about whenever I get into detail here. So you need three things for an engine to run, and I call it the fire triangle. You need air / compression, fuel, and heat. So the diesel engine has injectors, and the very early ones it's an IDI, indirect injection, but the newer ones are direct injection, which is an injector that squirts fuel, atomized fuel, into the cylinder with an air mixture, and the piston comes up, compresses it, ignites, bam, that's where you get a power stroke from, that's where you get your power. So I'm going to give you 3 reasons why the 12 valve Cummins is the best engine on the market to this day. The design and the material that they use for the 12 valve Cummins, how easily moddable the Cummins is, and the legendary Bosch P pump, also known as the Bosch P1700. So this engine first came into production in 1989, first seen its use in farm equipment, and then Dodge started putting them in their pickup trucks. So the crank, pistons, and piston rods, that's like the heart of the engine, and Cummins needed a solid building block. So they used cast iron for the block, which the block is this part of the engine. That is where your crank and your pistons run up. They're all connected to the crankshaft. The crankshaft and the piston rods are made out of forged steel. The process of making forged steel is you heat up steel to extremely high temperatures and then you mold the steel into the shape, and that's pretty solid. I'm not going to break it. And the head of the engine, which is right here, this part of the engine, that's where your valve train sits, and the valves basically pull in air and take the exhaust gases and push them out these ports, and they just release into the atmosphere. So the head is also made out of cast iron, which all around you're not going to blow that baby up. So now I'm going to go into detail about the P pump, or the Bosch P1700. So if I go back into what I said earlier about the injecting fuel into the cylinders, the injectors on the 12 valve Cummins are capable of pushing 15,000 psi into the cylinders, which makes it crucial that you have fuel to the injectors at all time, or else you're going to have failure with the injectors. And the fuel system on these engines is the most expensive part, so that left Cummins with a big question. They needed to make sure they got fuel to those injectors, which they used this pump right here, which is the Bosch P1700. This pump is a rotary design pump, which makes it very durable. If you run this pump dry, it'll probably be okay versus newer pumps. So that got thrown onto the side of this powerhouse and fueled the injectors. This pump is easily moddable. So up here you can remove 4 screws, and there's a fuel plate. You can move it side to side, take it out if you want, and all that really does is it limits the fuel until the turbo kicks in, because once the turbo kicks in, it's pushing more air into the engine, which speeds it up, but you're going to need more fuel. So if you mess with that plate around, you're going to add more fuel into the engine, which you can increase power 70 to 100 horsepower with just moving that plate around, which is extremely nice. You're not going to find that with any other pump. So this is going to lead me to my third point of how easily moddable these engines are. The market for them is insanely huge, endless sea of options, from turbos, larger injectors, intake manifolds, exhaust manifolds, more fuel being fed into this, forged parts, everything. So you can make this engine a long-lasting, long trip, just run 1,000,000 miles, or you can make it a race-ready monster, which most people do, and that's what I want to do. This is the all-around best engine in my opinion. So this takes me to my conclusion. I told you guys how a diesel engine works, what they're made out of, their design. I told you guys how easily moddable these engines are, and I told you about the legendary Bosch P1700 pump. And my favorite part of the Cummins is it roaring down the road. That's all. Thank you.